So if you guys were wondering what I was doing buying little rollers, the last time I went to America, I bought some bed rollers, and I bought them to make this thing. It's called a graaff, if you don't already know, and it's got a motor that spins the rollers this way, and there's a belt that goes all the way to the top, of this, and then at the top here there is a I don't know, little brushes. Well, I do know, apparently. Little brushes that get really close to the rubber belt, and they pick up electrons. So this thing picks up the same static electricity that you get from jumping on a trampoline. And this thing is 10,000 volts or so. Oh, never mind. Right now you're seeing 30,000 volts. There's about 3 millimeters, occasionally 4. So it's pretty powerful Van de Graaff, but it doesn't do exactly what I want it to do. So I'll go ahead and turn this off real quick. And let's see. That's what's inside. So those are the little bed rollers that I got. There's one there, and then there's one on the bottom, and that's the rubber belt going all the way down the bottom. It's the bottom of the tube. You can see the other little roller down there. Not well, but you can see it. And that's how it works. Just a wire connected to there, and these little brushes that are close to the wheel, but they don't touch. Well, those are copper nails, aren't they? Oh yeah, I made my own brush. But still the same thing. You can use a wire brush. Alright, well that's that. And then today's project, I made this. It's I made them both the same type of deal. They're both really quiet. My Van de Graaff's really quiet, so I don't have to worry about talking over it. Same thing with this pump. I made a 2-stage pump. It's got a piston pump that's quiet and on springs, and so it's actually kind of vibrating in the air inside this box, which makes it super silent. And then I got a gear pump. The gear pump keeps the air moving this way, so any air that's left inside of a vacuum chamber, like this vacuum chamber or this vacuum chamber, that's a seal, and then a glass goes on top, and then it will keep forcing the air out. So if there's no pressure inside, just air particles, the air particles occasionally get stuck inside of a centrifugal compressor, and then they're forced into the piston pump, and then eventually when it builds enough pressure, then the piston pump's valve will open and force any particles out. So it's a 2-stage compressor, but it's super silent. So I thought it was pretty cool for today's project, a super silent compressor. Normally I do projects late at night, so I don't want to bother the neighbors. So everything that I build is always super silent, like a super silent induction furnace and whatnot. But yeah, so it's got that. It's got a valve on here, and it's got a release valve, and it's got another inlet, so that way I can do 2 different projects at the same time. This was the it is the plasma blimp test model. Plasma blimp test model. So you can shoot plasma inside this thing, and it won't hurt me as far as x-rays, but the x-rays will be caught inside of a metal box, so it will be fine. Yeah, and that it's going to be able to test magnetic fields around plasma and stuff, so that's going to be pretty interesting when I get that project up and running. It's dealing with volts and amps. I need to build a converter that shoots 100,000 volts that works something like a Van de Graaff, because this part and that part are not connected, so the electrons won't flow from one end to the other. So I can connect this to one side of a transformer and this to another side of the transformer, and basically I can connect a arc welder to it, and it will shoot the current through, like, you can make 100,000 volt lightning and then shoot 45 volts through it, and it will flow like as if there was a wire there. So plasma is pretty cool, and that's what I'm going to be working with this container, is working with amps and volts, and basically using volts as like a wire through the air, and that's gonna show me how to make a plasma blimp for a reel. Basically, plasma blimps work like a regular electricity. Uh, the more amps you have, the more magnetic field you get, and the more you can pull on it. The more amps you have, the hotter it gets, the more it wants to lift. The air particles want to lift. So that's where the buoyancy things comes from, and that's where the pull comes from. So yeah, interesting.